It is getting to be a truly exciting time in the markets, and we need to talk about it. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. And do you know why bears hibernate for so long? It's because the thought of getting up while it's still so cold is unbearable. We're going to take a look at the indices SPY and QQQ, and then we're also going to talk about big tech in this video. And then I have one bonus one that I also want to throw out there because I think that it's getting to be a really exciting time and might be a pretty darn good opportunity for us. And if you guys want to see how I'm playing this market, come on over to the Patreon, and I'll also tell you about my options course and also about technical analysis where you can up your trading game and trade like I do in the markets. Let's pop TradingView up there right now. And right now we're looking at SPY, tracking the S&P 500. And you can see we actually fell out of the rising wedge that we had, which is actually a very bearish thing, being that we fell out of it. However, we still have this other trend line right here and another formation, which is possibly that we're seeing an ascending triangle, which if we do find support right there and we do start heading back up, and right now in the pre-market hours, you can say thank you to TSMC for what they said about the chip demand that's out there right now. That is something that's popping for big tech, and so it's also popping for the indices. So right now we're coming off that trend line, got a nice bounce yesterday. I'll show you QQQ. It's even a little bit more interesting given the movement that we're seeing. But right now up at 474, and it's still, I think that we have a shot. Let's move this over a little bit. We have a shot, and right there, about 484, 485 is where I could see this going, especially if we break the top of this. But right now we are drifting upward. We want to see this trend line right here across the top of that broken, as what we have for an ascending triangle is a continuation pattern. And I don't know if you can hear or not, but my now almost 7 months old, tomorrow's is her 7-month birthday coming up, and she's a very happy baby and squeals of joy all the time. So moving on from there, so QQQ, here we got the same thing happening where we have the ascending triangle pattern, but we also have either anywhere from a symmetric triangle with a slight bullish bias to an ascending triangle pattern like you saw with SPY. Let me zoom in a little bit more so that you can see that. And we'll also adjust this. So we actually had a strong bounce off this bottom trend line yesterday. You can see that we came down, tagged it, and now moving back up. Check the volume that we had on that as well. We're still bullish, although declining for momentum, although today in the pre-market being up about, as of the recording of this video, about 0.7 to about 0.75%. Man, I really porky pigged that one. So this one, we want to either see the top of this broken. That'd be a good sign for what we have for the symmetric triangle, and then for the ascending triangle, breaking up above that 413 number. And if we do, we have room up to about 420, as I said before. And should we get on top of this trend line, that would be also very good to see further bullishness come out of that. And it's looking a little bit more promising, especially given the volume spike that we got today, or yesterday in the markets. We could most definitely see that continue. Check out Microsoft. What we had was a rejection off the top of this trend line. I did adjust this up a little bit to accommodate some of these peaks a little bit more. And yesterday we did drop with the rest of the market, although recovered nicely. And then today we're popping at 392, where we closed at 389 yesterday. So up about that 0.75% as well for Microsoft. And again, that's coming out of what we saw from TSMC's earnings report that they put out for the continued chip demand that is out there, which is further bullishness for AI, which is further bullishness for Microsoft. Speaking of AI, let's talk about NVIDIA. NVIDIA, I still think that we see 500 again before we see 600, although this market might just make a liar out of me. Check out what we have going on for NVIDIA. Breaking out of the bullish channel that we were in, I expect a little bit of a pullback, although people have asked me, is it time to short NVIDIA? And I said that's going against the trend. It's a little bit dangerous. We are gapping up significantly above the 50 and the 200. There is a pullback coming for us for NVIDIA. Will it be before the earnings at the end of February? Most likely. So we'll probably swing low, sweet chariot before rising back up again in anticipation of those earnings. Does that bring us all the way back down to 500? Honestly, at this point in time, I'm not really all that certain that we get that, but we're going to have to wait and see. But what we had back in August for that question of will we get to 500? Leading up to earnings, that answer turned out to be yes, and then we saw it again with the earnings back in November, and now I think the question is going to be that 600 number. I say that we could possibly, up to that earnings date, have that 600 hit, maybe even pop a little bit up above it, and then have another sell following those earnings as people lock in some of those profits. So that's looking ahead for NVIDIA over the next month, if you will, because I believe February 21st is what we have here on TradingView for when that could come out. We are currently in the overbought territory. Going long on this is difficult right now because of where we're at. So if we're looking at it from a trading perspective rather than investing perspective, difficult to go long. Looking at it from an investing perspective, I still think that NVIDIA has a very bright future and that we're going to smash these current prices that we're at right now. So dollar cost averaging is something that I employ rather than going with something such as going all in all at once and then end up having the market drop on us or NVIDIA drop on us. And remember, trading multiples are everything for NVIDIA stock right now. So right now they're trading at a bit of a rich multiple. However, the market's also trading up high right now. And as the market softens and cools off, NVIDIA will soften and cool off, although I don't think that we come out of this lofty territory that we've been in going all the way back to May of 2023. I think that those days are behind us. I think the line in the sand right now is about what I have in this dark purple color right here at about 505, 500, I think is where we see whenever we do get that drop. I think that's where we could possibly drop to. So we're going to have to watch and see if that happens. Check out Meta. There's our ascending triangle pattern that we have for Meta as well. Came up to the top since I started talking about this. Also came back down, almost tested that bottom. Now we're moving back up again. Excellent. We got to watch that 385 number. 384.33 is where we peaked last time. We could find significant resistance there. Got to be watching for it and definitely watch for these trend lines. Breaking out the bottom of those is a bearish thing. So I remain cautiously bullish, although it is looking fairly good for us to continue up a little while longer. I think we have inflation to sweat out with the PCE. And when I say sweating out inflation, I mean the PCE report coming out next Friday. Got to be watchful for that. And then the following week, we have the Fed meeting January 30th and 31st. Those results are also going to be sweated out by the market. So don't be surprised if we get a little bit of softness leading up to those. And then moving from there, we have Microsoft, I believe, in the after hours on January the 31st. After that meeting from the FOMC takes place. And then February 1st is a huge day in the markets as well. So I do expect to see some red happening sometime next week, maybe Thursday. We see that happening leading up to that inflation report. We hit the inflation report, we readjust, we recalibrate. And then also I think Tuesday, January 30th, I think is also one of those recalibration dates. January 31st could possibly be. We're going to have to see as we get close to that Fed meeting time. They come out. I think they're still going to be dovish. They're probably going to say something about the whole higher for longer thing, especially if PCE comes in higher. We're just going to have to be watching that. Now, mind you, pushing back those rate cuts is something that can be detrimental to the markets at the current point in time. So we want to be watchful for that commentary. Moving on to Google, same thing, ascending triangle. They're currently up at about 144. There is a clear path to 150. So watching for that, we could possibly see coming out of this, with the peak of this triangle right here, for what we have, or I should say wedge, for this ascending wedge is about that 150 mark. So we could come screaming all the way up, get almost there, and then get kicked out of that. So we need to be watchful for that. Amazon, same formation. Be watchful for that price of about 160 coming out. And then, as a matter of fact, right there is where we have that cross, is 160. So we are looking pretty darn good for big tech. Tesla is getting a good bounce off of this support line. It's possible that we're seeing that inverse head and shoulders that I was talking about. So far, we have not broken down through the bottom of this symmetric triangle pattern that we have, which is a consolidation pattern where we need to just watch and see the trend lines pop through the top. Excellent and bullish, pop through the bottom. Excellent and bearish, I guess, at least in a near-term sense, because remember, long-term bull on Tesla. However, I will play the volatility that's there. So I am watching those trend lines. Right now, we are catching that support. Similar thing for Rivian. I'm just bringing this up. I know it doesn't necessarily count as big tech, but I want to bring it up because of where it's at and how similar it is to Tesla's look right now, down below the 50 and the 200. And also, we got to watch and see which trend line we break out of, because that's going to tell us a lot about where we're at. Should we break through the top of this, we could have early indications of bullishness if we break over the 200 and the 50. So we'll be watching for that. Also watch the RSI measures that you have on the daily chart for Rivian. All right, so with that said, I did want to take just a moment to tell you, if you want to see my Tesla stock price prediction and earnings projection prior to their earnings, that is available over at the Patreon. That link is down in the description. I post my buys and sells in the Discord. That's also part of that. And then I also have my options course in there as well, at my NVIDIA stock price prediction and earnings projection, which I'll be updating in the month of January. We'll also be hitting the Patreon very soon. And the technical analysis that you see and a whole lot more is available in this course, which I have a link for this. Massive discount using the coupon code TRADE. That's right, trade. Use that word as the coupon code for massive discounts. It does have an expiration date. It is coming up within the next few weeks. So make sure that you take advantage of that before the price does go up. And I have a chapter in this course. This is available through StockMo. And I'll tell you what, it is clean, concise, easy. And as an education professional, somebody who has their doctorate in education, I can tell you that this thing is well assembled, well put together, and And I very much, I enjoy the style of it. It's clean, easy, and it also has a learning community attached to it. It has its own Discord where you can talk about the technical analysis that you see in there and also talk about the results that you're getting and use the community over there. I'm over there, Stockmo's over there, plus all the other community members there to support each other moving towards financial freedom and also improving their trading game. So go ahead and check that out. All right, guys, let's get back to the charts for the bonus stock that I wanted to tell you about. So check this one out. It's one that I talked about a little while ago. Get my mouse to work here. Nike. Check out Nike's formation that we have. We actually just got a bounce off the $100 mark. And so for this, shoulder, head, shoulder, and neckline coming right across here, we possibly have an inverse head and shoulders. It's going to be confirmed by breaking through the neckline, which means that we have to come back up and retest the 200-day at about 108. So that, from where it's at in the pre-market right now, that's about 7% up from where it's currently at. So it could actually have a decent rip coming off of Nike stock. Breaking up through that would also be a bullish move. So we're going to be watching for that one. And so this is one of the prettiest formations that I see in the stock market right now. So I did want to share it with you, and it's one that I am absolutely paying attention to right now, especially coming off of such a critical value as the 100 mark that we had right here, where I expected to see that support come in extra heavy. And so now we're starting to see some of that, and we're starting to see that formation come out. And this could be one where we get a wonderful, wonderful rip to the upside on this one. We do want to be watching for around that 110 level, and up above that, we have room up to about 115. So we could see a quick like 9 to 15% increase in Nike's stock price. So let me summarize this thing. Let's wrap it up. So the markets, I'm still cautiously bullish on them. I'm watching those trend lines. It's possible that we see that break to the upside that will break the top trend lines and continue higher for a little while. For SPY, up to about 485. For QQQ, up to at least 420. So we're going to have to watch that. I do think QQQ is going to be the outperformer. Again, between the two of them, IWM is certainly one to watch, and we need to pay attention to the inflation report, and we need to pay attention to also what we hear from the Fed about the rate cuts. The longer they take, the worse it is for IWM, which tracks the Russell 2000. I know I didn't include it in this video. I will do an update on that one soon. For Big Tech has green lights right now for a little while longer. I am watching those ascending wedge patterns that we have. Should we break down through the bottom trend lines for those, that could be a bearish movement not only for them, but also it could be the catalyst for pushing the SPY, the S&P down, and more specifically the NASDAQ 100 could be the signal for that drop. So we just need to be watching for those. They do have their earnings coming up. I think they're going to be strong earnings. We do need to watch and see that we're getting a run up to earnings, which could be a sell following those earnings. So just some of the thoughts that I wanted to share with you. Right now, near-term bullishness that we have happening. At some point in time, we're going to get that softening in the markets, but right now, we're not quite seeing the signal that now is that time. All right, and then for Nike, possible inverse head and shoulders. Not seeing the confirmation yet, but I can tell you that 100 is very, very solid support for us. I think that it's done dropping for right now, and I plan on making my trade in that either today or very soon, and I'll be announcing that over at the Discord. Remember that my buys and sells you can see over at the Discord, which is available through my Patreon. Tesla and NVIDIA stock price prediction and earnings projections are also over there, and my options course. If you want to amplify the power of your portfolio through the power of options, that course is already being built out over there right now, available to all Patreon members. So go ahead and check that out. And then also link down in the description for the technical analysis trading course. It is top notch. It is wonderful, and people over there are very pleased with the course. And remember that massive discount using coupon code TRADE, TRADE, does not last forever. It only is available for the next couple of weeks here. So go ahead and take advantage of that by clicking that link down in the description as well. As always, guys, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.